Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. And here we have a...
Frozen, all. Only the banner moves, blown by the wind.
Downright poetic. Prime material for a ballad, perhaps even a whole saga.
Banner Saga reference.
Gazing towards the horizon, Niamh noticed a dark shape outlined against the mantle of snow that lay on the ground. It proved a tower, toppled and broken in pieces. Around it lay the ruins of other buildings, blocks hewn out of basalt rock protruding from the permafrost.
That'd be the Clan Vidmar ruins,
said Gabor, hollering over the wind.
rich ones. Had their clan seat here till earth tremors turned all into dust. Hundreds of dwarves lived here once, and now, not a living soul.
Ah! Help! Save me!
On the contrary, there was someone midst the ruins, and said someone was clearly in trouble. Niamh ordered her men to find the unfortunate soul. They returned moments later, leading a dwarf whose teeth chattered. They had found him in a ruined building where he'd sought shelter from ghouls. Judging by his appearance, the dwarf had spent the better part of a week there.
Mirko Vidmar, they call me.
He said, patting down unkempt hair that seemed to reach in all directions.
I came here seeking a family heirloom, lost in the tremors and the chaos they caused. I ken the chamber where it ought to be, but, well, beasts made their lair there. I cannot drive them off on my own. But bold warriors like you ought to cut them down in a jiffy. So, will you help?
I too have lost my home, estate,
Said the queen.
so I understand well what you feel. I shall help you recover your heirloom. Call it a whim.
Mirko Vidmar's face lit up. Though he'd spent a week besieged and eating stale biscuits, and though there was a hoarfrost in his beard, he quickly trotted to the front of the column and led the Lyrian soldiers to the underground chamber. As promised, beasts awaited there.
ruins! From there they come! Drive them back!
Left, right, left, right.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
You mad? Don't shake that!
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
My scars? No, they don't hurt.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die. Should have listened to me old lady.
Let's get a move on before any others show up.
As soon as the fight was done, Mirko Vidmar ran towards a crate that stood on a pedestal, slipping on the now bloody floor. When the dwarf lifted the lid, precious stones spilled out.
Your heirloom? This?
Asked the Queen, rather puzzled.
I thought a pipe that belonged to your grandfather more likely.
Seems to me Brother Mirko wasn't wholly candid with us. This here's no heirloom, no family souvenir. It's the treasure trove of Clan Vidmar. We thought it gone for good.
Pressed for the truth, Mirko admitted no family sentiment had prompted this expedition. The dwarf had planned to leave Mahakam and start a new life among humans. Yet he did not wish to do so without sizable capital.
I canna stand to stay here a moment longer. The days, all of them, they're identical. Rise with the first cockscrow, march in double file to the latrine, crap on command, 12 hours down the shaft and home to sleep.
Mirko complained.
Want a wifey? Put in an application, in triplicate. Care to snip your beard? Elders got to approve it. You want to add buttermilk, not cream, to your mushroom soup? Clan council's got to debate it. How's a dwarf not to get barmaid?
I understand the lad, no two ways about it.
Gabor sighed.
But I feel it's my duty to remind yous that what Mirko's going and doing here, well, there are laws. Treasure's due the Elder-in-Chief, not to Mirko, that's one. Second, any dwarf that wants to leave Mahakam can't take nothing but his breeches, his dixie, and his coat. So, brief like, consider well afore you make your decision, Your Grace.
Okay, so this is another Mahakam reputation choice. So, let's return this to Elder-in-Chief.
I sympathize, Mirko,
Said Meave.
but I'm a crowned head. I must decline. National interest requires I show the greatest possible care for my relations with Elder-in-Chief Hugh. Yet in aiding you, I could sour those greatly. I shall return the treasure to him, I must. While you do what you will.
Mirko Vidmar swore under his breath, then jostled his way through the Lyrian infantry and into the mountains, towards human lands. The Lyrians rode a narrow, winding path along the rocky ridge. To one side were ice-covered boulders, to the other, a chasm hundreds of feet deep.
They could have at least erected some barriers.
Complained Gascon, knocking snow from his cap.
Got plans for that.
Gabor said.
Just need to decide how high to make them.
What?
Think, should they be the height of your average dwarf or a human? The debate's gone on for 20 years. On the one hand, you've got...
Gabor did not finish his discursion. He was interrupted by the Baba Ghazi that jumped down from the rocks.
Archers! Shoot! Aim for underbelly!
Meave's soldiers made quick work of the lone monster. But the sound of battle spooked the horses harnessed to one of her wagons.
Whoa there! Whoa, damn it!
The driver tried to rein in the animals, but could not. They dragged him into the chasm along with his cart and the soldiers riding it. They landed a few dozen feet below on a rocky outcropping. A moment later, Baba Ghazis swarmed everywhere.
Did you see how they fared? Anyone left alive?
Asked Meave, leaning over the cliff edge.
Worry more about their cargo.
Gascon replied.
They were also carrying chests of gold.
Blast. We can't get down there. Too steep and the snow keeps falling.
We can lower ourselves down a line. But without armor, shields, or heavy weapons, otherwise it will snap.
And the Baba Ghazis?
The Queen said, brow raised.
We shan't kill them with daggers. They're too thick of armor.
We'll have to try. Or continue on our way.
You only live once.
Meave sighed.
Gascon, round up some volunteers and let us move out.
Moments later, the Queen was lowering herself down a line straight towards the gaping maw of a Baba Ghazi. Her only armor, a woolen shirt.
Careful! No one try to be a hero!
This could hurt.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Watch your heads!
Slippery up here.
and it's a bloody long way down. A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
Bereft of sword and shield, Meve could not withstand a single blow. She thus danced atop the frozen snow, deftly dodging the Barbegazi's lightning-fast strikes, while delivering but a few well-aimed hits of her own, to their eyes, ears, and gaping jaws. When the last monster fell lifeless to the ground, Meve walked up to the shattered wagon. The soldiers it had carried were bruised, frostbitten, but alive.
Your Grace, we were sure you'd leave us.
A good ruler never abandons her folk.
Nor her gold.
Gascon interjected, while securing a rope to a chest. Soon enough, all were safely back on the path. The admiration Meve saw in her soldiers' eyes was in itself sufficient reward for her difficult battle.
Oh man, this card makes me wanna drink some beer.
Hefty mantle of fresh snow today. Got a blow before too long, bring a rush down. Oh, gold is up a shile ma's ass. Braving the snow in those meagre courts, are ye? Truly. Throw yourselves here for a spell afore moving on. Snow falls down, teeth are chattering. Winds are howling, frost are beating, la 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 la. Snow falls down, teeth are chattering. Winds are howling, frost are beating, la 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 la. Oh, gold is up a shile ma's ass.
Okay, now this is a Hearthstone reference.
Augur me! Ackers! Got a bad case of Lotus back.
And there's the roach, the pirate.
I am here to lend a helping hand.
And we've got a blizzard card. Okay, now I'm actually gonna make this card. And I've got 5 of them. Now I could also make this card. Like 5 of them. And let's see, I can't make this one, but I can make this one. Oh yeah, I definitely wanna make this card.
Welcome to me inn. We've many folk today, but there's always room enough for more. Good to see you again. Welcome to me inn. Welcome to me inn. Good to see you again. We've many folk today, but there's always room enough for more.
Now all of these dialogues are also reference to the Hearthstone, or maybe a
Welcome
bit to
to
the
the
World
end.
of Warcraft.
An army's a waste of time for one like me. Left, right, left, right.
To the last!
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Mahjong.
For the Queen!
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Again and again and again.
God save the Queen!
So much anger and suffering. For what?
Marvelous to your command.
For Rivia!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die. Armor won't say.
Meave now witnessed a sorry sight. A mass funeral for miners killed due to a tragic convergence of events. Their lead caskets lay upon the snow, wreaths of hop cones laid upon them in turn. The mourners waited for the diggers to finish. The digging was tough, for the ground was frozen. As the crunch and thud of picks and shovels continued, the dead miner's foreman scrambled onto a boulder to make a speech. Angry shouts and loud booing stopped him.
You knew it! You knew they'd smelled vapors, but you ordered them to keep digging till it blew up in their faces!
Meet the daily quota whatever the cost, eh?
You've blood on your mitts, whoreson!
A mourner then picked up a chunk of frozen ground and threw it at the foreman. Blood spurted from the gash that appeared on his forehead. The first dirt chunk was followed by another, then by a rock, a brick. Meave realized that if she did not intervene, the foreman stood to be stoned to death. Something had to be done quickly. Meave saw this clearly. She spurred her mount and rode into the cemetery, pushing through the throng, then stopping before the foreman, the horse shielding him from further blows.
Calm yourselves! Silence! His guilt cannot be decided here. It must!
Before Meave could finish her plea, a large rock thrown from the crowd struck her bosom, nearly knocking her from her saddle. Upon seeing this, her Lyrian escort lowered spears and drew swords and rushed at the angry mourners.
Shino Kren!
Isbel cried out. Her hands began to radiate a fierce light that blinded both dwarves and Lyrians alike.
Have you lost your minds, all of you together? Not had your fill of misfortune yet? Lower your arms at once.
Whether the power of Isbel's magic or the force of her appeal had the greater effect is difficult to say for certain. Either way, both sides suddenly lost the desire to fight. Meve breathed a sigh of relief, aware that if not for Isbel's intervention, a great amount of blood would have been spilled at that cemetery.
Knew there'd be a stink cause of this. Knew there'd be a stink cause of this. Knew there'd be a... Well, we may have gotten a wee bit carried away. 'Tis good you brought back some order. Knew there'd be a... Knew there'd be... Well, we may have gotten a wee bit carried away. 'Tis good you brought back some order.
The Lyrians ascended the highest section of the Mahakam range. Snow crunched under their boots, cold air stung their lungs, and the wind snapped at their cloaks. Meve wiped sweat from her brow and turned to Reynard.
There! By the rocks! We shall...
The rest of her words were drowned out by a powerful blast. The entire mountain rumbled with a low, vibrating roar. The sound grew louder, echoing off the rocks, splitting their ears. The Lyrians looked around, disoriented. Few heard Gabor's warning.
Dinna just stand there! Get behind the rock! Quick! Hurry!
Meve followed the dwarf's gaze and cried out in terror. The snow stuck to the mountainside had started to slide down the slope, sending up mists of icy dust. Before she could react, the white torrent knocked her to her knees, crushing her and smothering her into the ground. All she felt after that was all-encompassing cold and fear. Meve survived. The dwarves who ran to the Lyrians' rescue dug her out of the snow in time. Some of her soldiers were not so lucky. The Queen looked at their bodies, blue, frozen. Next to them lay dead horses, demolished wagons. The losses were enormous. Meve wiped her cheek. Her tears burned her frozen skin. Gabor spoke a while with the leader of the Mahakam Guard Patrol that had come to their rescue. His face was dour.
What? What have you learned?
I tell you all in good time. First, you need a warm drink, good victuals.
No, Gabor. I need to find out what in blazes happened here.
Well, it was an avalanche.
Of course it was an avalanche. I'm no fool. But what caused it? What was that noise?
Signal horns. Ours.
So you brought this snow down on us? Dwarves!
Well, aye, but, unawares.
Explain, in brief.
See, we clean our mount regularly. The way menfolk shovel snow off their roofs. Otherwise, the whole shebang would come tumbling down on our heads. When snow's gathered deep enough, we blast our horns to cause a controlled avalanche. Then we need to, but sweep up a wee bit and the road's safe.
All well and good, but why did you decide to clean up right as I was passing through?
Wondering that myself. Schedule says next cleaning should have been a week from now. But someone asked the route to be cleared earlier.
Who?
Meve, I'll tell you. But first, promise you'll...
Who?
Hey. Ovain ep Clenvog, the Nilfgaardian emissary. Think it were meant as revenge for attacking their caravan.
The bastard. Reynard! Reynard!
Wait! Wait! I understand you're a wee bit upset, you've every right. But you'll never prove Ovain meant you harm. The sly weasel make sure he didn't dirty his own paws.
I've no such scruples. I'll find him and kill him.
And then? How'd you tell that tale to Bruva? Meave, you're justly torqued, but for the love, just this once, let it go. Or you'll leave Mahakam with near a scrap to show for it.
Moments later, scouts reported Ovain was camped to the north of the accident site. Meave had to decide how much she was willing to risk to get her revenge on the Imperial emissary.
By the Elder's sideburns, I'd no notion anyone was in the Vale. Nilfgaardian said the road was clear. The whoresons! What a mess. I'm so sorry. With all my heart. By the Elder's sideburns, I'd no notion anyone was in the Vale.
There, milady, whispered one of the scouts.
Left of the path.
Meave squinted. The Nilfgaardians had taken shelter from the falling snow under a rocky outcropping. The smell of roasting meat wafted from their campfire, and echoes of laughter could be heard. The black-clad soldiers had reason to celebrate. They had just decimated Meave's company without even drawing their weapons. Meave's gaze caught something else. A metal container into which the Nilfgaardians tossed bones once they'd been gnawed clean. It looked strangely familiar. Only after a moment did the Queen understand it was an overturned Lyrian helmet dug out of the snowy grave of one of her men.
The whoresons.
Meave hissed.
They'll pay for this.
Meave! Asking you last time, keep a cool head,
whispered Gabble.
You want vengeance? I get it. But think of the cost. If so much as a hair gets plucked from Ovain's head, Bruver will never forgive you, and you can kiss any hope of aid goodbye.
Silence followed, finally to be broken by one of the scouts.
Milady, what's the order? Do we attack?
So obviously this is a reputation choice. So let's do this.
Await my signal.
The Queen stepped out from behind the rocks, put a hand to her mouth, and yelled,
Ovain! Ovain at Clenbog!
All laughter stopped in the Nilfgaardian camp. Moments later, a sumptuously dressed man stepped in front of the wagons. He wiped a thick sauce from his lips, then bowed with an exaggerated courtly flourish.
Queen, my condolences. That Avalanche, what an unfortunate turn of events.
The mountains can be unpredictable,
Meave said with a shrug.
Accidents can happen at any time.
Oh, yes?
Even right now.
Meave leapt towards the emissary, placed two hands on his neck, and hurled him into a rock with all her might. The Nilfgaardian's head slammed against the stone, and his skull crumpled with a sickening crash. He fell to the ground and writhed a few final tremors.
Attack!
Meave roared.
Take no prisoners!
Githan Quan and Lyrian!
take no prisoners.
Ours is not to reason why.
For the Queen!
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Willing and how, but these damn...
We must trust each other.
I believe to your command.
I'm coming. Pays late. Again.
My boots got sand aplenty in them.
God save the Queen!
So much anger and suffering. For what?
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
That was not in the spellbooks.
Aye.
Now, how did that incantation go?
Notice! All roads lead to Nilfgaard! Order will triumph! It must triumph! Praise be to the great sun!
We should not have done this.
Meve showed no mercy for the Nilfgaardians in Ove Nepklenvog's camp. All would share their leader's fate. And the dwarves? As predicted, they were outraged by Meve's open attack on the Nilfgaardian emissary. Bruvahug suddenly called for a council of the clan elders. They debated what to do with the Lyrians for a long time. The elders, outraged the Queen had once again defied their principle of neutrality, levied a punishing financial penalty, and threatened another such incident would result in a lifetime ban from entering the Dwarven kingdom.
Now, if you don't attack the Nilfgaardians, I think you're gonna get some kind of cinematic.
While passing the mining settlement of Kolstock, Meve heard the sounds of battle.
Hey-ho! Into the fray, lads!
Expecting she would see monsters swarming dwarves, the queen set off at a gallop to the rescue. Her braid blew about in the wind like a banner, showing her men in which direction to attack. The dwarves she saw, however, were not engaged in a battle against Shaelmars and Barbigazes. No, they were going at one another. Luckily, no weapons had yet been drawn, but given the dwarves have hands the size of bread loaves, this did not necessarily mean there would be no deaths.
Oi, lads!
Roared Gabor Zigrin.
What's this foolishness? Calm the hell down, damn it!
Gabor's intervention proved successful. The dwarves limited themselves to verbal jousting. Meve, who was no stranger to barrack room talk, nonetheless turned crimson at the dwarves' cursing. Piecing together the obscenities, Meve concluded they were debating an old quarrel about the height of a certain mountain, or rather of the twin peaks atop it. One of them lay in the territory of Clan Dahlberg, while the other in the Hoogsland. Each family felt their peak was the highest, all measurements indicating the contrary being total fabrications.
Queen?
Started Gabor, nervously chewing his moustache.
They're asking if you, as yin impartial and a fair-minded wench to boot, wouldn't wish to settle their Egypt squabble once and for all?
Meve knew well that this type of age-old quarrel could easily end in bloodshed, so she resolved to help. Representatives of the two clans gave her a strange mechanism she was to use to measure elevation. All that was left was for the queen to button her coat up to the neck and scale the twin peaks.
Time to end this Glickered feud, once and for all. Time to end this Glickered Time to end this Glickered feud, once and for all.
When she and her force had travelled half the way to the first, she heard a long roar that made snow shelves detach and descend. Without waiting for her scouts to return with reports, Meve drew her sword.
For the Queen!
Again and again and again.
Eyes up, lads! They're flying straight for us!
Ah! God save the Queen!
To the last!
An army's a waste of time for one like me.
As ordered.
Left, right, left, right.
When will you ever learn?
Quite the clever little contraption they gave us. Work of a gnome, of course.
Yeah!
There's not to reason why.
Aye.
John.
Take those measurements and let's be gone from this place.
The Lyrians managed to repel the monsters and reach both peaks. Upon each, Meve ordered her men to take the measurements. While waiting, she admired the breathtaking view of the Mahakaman Massif. The Dwarven contraption left no room for doubt. The peak within the Dalberg clan territory was 2 feet higher than that within Hoog territory. Gabor was clearly displeased with the results.
Damn it all! I'd hoped you'd proved Brewer's clan was in the right. He'd have been content to see the Dalbergs knocked down a peg or two, and, possibly, he'd have been more inclined to help you,
said the dwarf in frustration. Then, after a pause, he added,
Although, only you saw what the device showed, Queen. Perhaps you could, recalibrate the results a wee bit?
'Tis most lowly and ignoble.
Ake cried out in protest.
A knight his honor would never stain with such a lie.
So this is another reputation choice, and we're not gonna lie.
To lie would be simple, true,
said Meve.
Yet to forget the matter would be so much harder. No, Gabor, I shall tell the truth.
The Queen's tone made it clear the discussion was over. Gabor let the matter lie, and Meve's force began its descent down the mountainside. The dwarves of both clans had been waiting with bated breath for the expedition's return and report. As soon as Meve announced the results, the Dalbergs rolled barrels of beer out into the square and began to celebrate. Naturally, the Hoogs were disappointed, yet they accepted Meve's results as final. At last, they had come to trust her.
Dalbergs are the dwarves we need, every Hoogs are Dunderheed! Dalbergs are the dwarves we need, every Hoogs are Dunderheed! Dalbergs are the dwarves we need, every Hoogs are Dunderheed!
For frostbite, you'd best avail yourself of some onion juice. Even better if you had a wee nip of vodka.
And we will continue this in the next episode, so if you liked this one, give it a like, dislike if you think it sucked, and see you next time. Thank you.